Welcome to Home Education Matters, the weekly podcast supporting you on your home education journey. Hello and welcome to another episode of Home Education Matters, and today I'm joined by Veronica Skye again, who did a fabulous podcast with us all about maths. And today is, of course, because it's her specialism, we're going to be talking about maths again. But this isn't just any old maths podcast. Oh, it's like a Marks and Spencer's advert. This isn't just any old maths podcast. This is about the new Modular IGCSE maths from Edexcel that is going to be available. I don't know. Veronica's going to tell us all about it. I know very little about this, but I know that it's exciting. I know that modular maths means you don't have to take all your exams in one go, which is rather nice. So Veronica, first of all, before we launch into the joys of modular maths, thank you so much for coming on the podcast again. And do tell us, for anyone who didn't listen to the first one, do tell us a little bit about how you got into tutoring and your presence in the home education community.
All right. Hello, Eleanor. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for having me here again. I was so excited to talk about the modular maths. But yes, let's first start a little bit about me, for who maybe don't know me just yet. Yes, I am a tutor. I have been a tutor, I always say, pretty much my whole life. So more than half my life I've been tutoring maths. And basically, somehow I just went into helping home educating families. It's just the word spread between, and I just got inquiries and someone recommended me there and there. It happened. And I just found out, oh, it's really, really nice way. I like helping home educating students. It's just like a different way. So I was focusing more and more basically on helping home educating students. I still do help everyone, whoever needs, even adult learners with maths. That's absolutely fine. But now even more and more, I actually quite recently started pivoting towards helping parents who home educate for them to be able and be more confident to basically teach their children maths themselves. So I'm even going like a step ahead now. Because I think that's where it's all actually starting. So there's not that much need I need to send my child to classes because I'm not good at maths or something. So I can basically help them. And then, when they know how to help one child, maybe they have more who home educate, then they can help the younger ones again and just easier. So I thought it's maybe even better than what I've been doing for more than half my life. So
well, that's really interesting. So now you're helping parents get better at teaching their children maths or supporting their children with maths.
Yes.
That's a very nice initiative. I like that. It's very home education. I like that.
Yeah, I thought that was something that maybe might need a little bit more attention, and because I really like the idea, and it seems to the parents who I help, they also like the idea. So I'm like, okay, maybe that's a good step on the journey. But I still help directly students as well. Sometimes it gets to that level when the parents say, okay, I think we really need someone just a little bit more extra, a little bit more specialist, and just maybe do the finishing push, say, towards the exams or something. But most of the maths could be, and some parents really could do all of it, including A-level maths and everything. And I really cheer on it so much because it's amazing.
I think maths is one of those subjects where, as a parent, as a home educating parent, we can bring a lot to the table, both in a good way and a bad way when it comes to maths. I don't know any adult that doesn't have, if you say something about maths, there will always be a reaction. Oh, I loved maths at school, or oh, I'm really bad at maths, or oh, I hated maths, or oh, I remember my maths teacher. And, there's always something. It's like we all have something about maths. It's really weird. I can't think of any other curriculum subject where you say like French or history, that everyone would have something they wanted to say about that subject. But maths is one of those we bring a lot of, I want to say trauma, but I think that's just me. But we bring a lot of stuff to the maths table. Yeah. I think when
some kind of strong reaction for sure.
Exactly. So let's talk then about modular maths, because talking of this idea of maths being something that everybody has an opinion about. And sometimes, realistically, it's a negative opinion, right? People don't like maths, or people find maths hard. Now, one of the things that I know about modular exams is that obviously you take them in modules. So obviously all exams specifications, when you look at them, let's take Cambridge English Language IGCSE specification. So that has got modules within it, right? But you take an exam or 2 exams at the end. So you take your GCSE in one summer sitting. So talk to us then what modular means when it comes to exams.
So modular used to be quite common, for example, in the UK, really not just internationally, for example, A-levels. So you would take your first 2, say, pure maths exams in a year 1, therefore year 12 technically, and then other 2, it's called pure now, actually. It was used to call core, but basically they're more like a mathsy maths, not the statistics mechanics. So there were other 2 modules, and you take them in year 2. You can also resit those in year 1 straight and that time if you needed to or wanted to. And same was for the other modules such as mechanics, statistics. So that was something. I'll give you an example. Basically, speaking of A-level maths, I had a student who asked me to do a resit. That was before the A-level maths changed to linear, which is now the standard, basically here in the UK. So the modular is now, again, just only international. But in schools, you do now linear A-level. But it used to be
Which is when you do all your sittings in one summer exam, basically.
Exactly, yeah. It's several papers, but all needs to be done at once and all's been assessed at once. That's the linear. Well, the modular, when that student asked me for the resit, that was pre-2018, if I remember correctly. So his biggest trouble was to choose which module should I resit in terms of which one will give me the extra more boost. Would it be C1? Would it be C3? So he was choosing from both years what would be strategically the best to cash in the most marks. So, and that's great. You basically, it's what would be my strongest way? Oh, I can get marks here, but if actually I lost more marks here. So if I push on this module, this unit, I can cash in way more marks. So that's the beauty of the modular. You have more choices. And unlike in the linear, when you have, say, 2 papers for IGCSE and Excel maths, and you have 2 units for IGCSE and Excel modular, unlike the previous linear. So technically it's like some kind of 2 papers, but unlike in the linear one, there could be any topic anywhere. In those modular ones, the units, it's set. So you know what you're supposed to learn for the unit. So if it's Pythagoras, it's there. It will not be in the other paper or in the other unit. So I've been looking at, I have all this stuff here, but obviously we don't have to talk into details. I'll be writing a proper full blog post about it. So I'll then link the podcast into this there as well. So there'll be more of the details, but basically there's already, you can see what will be in which unit. So, okay, I'm kind of more stronger at these things. Maybe this year I'll be only learning towards this module. I will be not even wondering about all the other stuff because maybe I want to do it the next year.
So it enables you to focus on specific modules and topics, and the module will be a topic. So, for example, 1 year or 1 period of study, you could focus solely on geometry or whatever.
It's it's slightly mixed up. It's geometry, number in technically both units, but you know what specific topics in those are. Mm-hmm. So then you will have, say, if you have algebra, you will have in both units, but there will be specific topics such as quadratics. And then there will be algebra, and it will be about algebraic fractions, for example. So you know what to learn in that bit. So you will learn a little bit of everything for each unit, but you know exactly which topics and which you don't have to even touch if you don't want to.
So you end up with your IGCSE maths, but you've sat it over a period of 2 years doing shorter exams. Is it? How many modules is it, and how long are the exams for them?
So again, very much comparing to linear IGCSE and Excel, because they're very, very similar, these exams. So linear IGCSE and Excel maths is 2 papers. But as I said, the topics could be mixed completely. Everything could be everywhere. And you need to sit it all at once, meaning in kind of like, say, June 1st and June 7th, something like that, same year. Yeah. But the modular, you have also basically 2 papers, but you actually apply to sit the specific paper, the specific unit. It's not all at once. So if you just want to do that one, you just do that one. And the other unit you can do, maybe if it's like November, kind of like the resit time when there's another opening for exams, you can do it the year after. You can do it 2 years after. You can do it whenever you want, actually. There is no time limit either.
So basically you would sit 2 papers still, so 2
Yes.
modules, but you can sit one at the end of year 1 and then you can sit one at the end of year 2. So it's 2 papers still, 2
Yes.
modules, but you can split your exam sittings, so you don't have to sit both papers in the same exam sitting.
Exactly. But you can if you want to.
Okay. And when it comes to what you're actually studying, is it very different, or is it literally exactly the same? You're just sitting one paper. They've just split the sittings and split the papers.
What I've seen so far from the syllabus, and I'm still going through it, but it looks pretty much very, very similar to the linear counterpart. So if it's IGCSE Edexcel, then linear module pretty much the same learning, same topics. Just again, it's the distribution and how you sit it that makes the big difference.
Okay, and so if you were to sit module 1 and you got a bad mark, you could then resit that. And these resits that you do, now this is a bit of a niche question, so bear with me on this one. Do you have to declare those resits just like you do other resits when you're applying to university? For the resits?
This one, I'm not quite sure exactly. What I can only, because that information I haven't seen anywhere when I was looking through, but that could be something perhaps interesting to find out later, and we can add it some sort of appendix. But what I know, one thing when you just mentioned the resits, which might be interesting though, that if you do sit the resit and that wouldn't work out perhaps better, then you can pretend like that really never happened. You would not have to be worried, oh, now I have even less marks. You basically cash in the best one. So it wouldn't affect that if you try to do better and you actually do worse, they would say, well, now you have something worse. No. So that's definitely an important thing. You cash in what you choose. And if you actually do worse, that's not going to affect your marks, because only the best of that specific unit, even if you take it 3-4 times, if you really want to or need to, just the best one will be the one that you want to cash in. And you decide when you want to cash it in.
So you can decide when you do module 2, for example.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And you mentioned the different options of times of year you can do it. So I'm guessing here you're talking summer and then the autumn sitting.
Yes, that still applies. You probably know there used to be also January option, but they got rid of it. I think last year was the last one, 2023 January. So at the moment, the exams only summer, so the May, June, and then November in autumn. But yes, you can apply and wherever you're ready and whichever exam or whichever module or unit you want to take.
Okay, and module 1, for example, that I'm guessing is easier level maths than module 2.
Does look like it to me, because they also talk about it as like one of the benefits that you can feel it as you can sit what you learn the first year in that first unit. So most of the learning, if they will be focused on the modular, would probably be teaching that in the first year. And then say second year, if you be learning 2 years towards your GCSEs, but you can basically sit halfway through before you would learn everything. So you can learn 1 year for your GCSEs, and if you feel ready, you can take the exam and then you can do the next. So the first unit seems to be generally a bit easier maths, but it also depends how, say, if you're learning in a course or something, whether the course is prepared for that or whether you just maybe do your own learning and then obviously make sure that you learn what you need for the first unit.
So it's a little bit like AS levels were for A levels, but it's like an AS level in effect for GCSE. Can you cash it in just with module 1, or would you not get like half a GCSE for that?
No, you will need to have everything to be ready to cash in everything. But again, there is no time limit. So if you feel like, oh, I just need some break for a year, another year, or maybe 2 years, as long as the modular exams will be running, then you can just wait. It's not gonna expire.
Okay, and so my next question is, I know you've got all of the answers to my questions, so I like to plough you with questions. So my next question is it only Edexcel that are doing this, and when does it start? When is the first option for it?
Yeah, at the moment, yes. Edexcel seem to say that we only do this, nobody else. So as far as I know from the information I got, yes, it's only Edexcel. And there actually been few IGCSE basically international GCSE subjects this summer. One of them was English, I think English literature, and a few other things like accountancy. I don't remember. That's not the most common ones, but of the most common ones, English. So that was already this summer. And next year, so summer 2025, will be first sitting of maths and sciences as well, which could be, again, interesting because those are all the basically core subjects. So maths and science is following the next summer, the first.
So next summer will be the first sitting of the modular maths, and then
Yes.
the summer after is going to be the first sitting of the modular sciences.
No, the state maths and sciences will be all next year.
Okay,
I think all they're rolling so far is something was already this summer, and all the other subjects I think they're thinking of bringing, such as maths and science, will be 2025 summer. I'm not sure if they'll be adding any more, and maybe there'll be more information later. What may be happening for summer 2026, perhaps. But that information is not available yet.
So these are all the IGCSEs, Edexcel
Those are all
IGCSEs.
the modular Edexcel IGCSEs, yes.
And so I'm guessing that the modular maths Edexcel IGCSE has a different subject code to, like, a different, that kind of letters, numbers code. It has a different code, I'm guessing, to the non-modular one, does it?
Yes, it is definitely different code. So then you know what you're also sitting, which papers. There are also some sample papers already. So make sure that you are linking the correct one to what you want to be sitting. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And because the reason I ask is because, of course, exam centres you're going to want the right subject code.
Yes.
For the modular as opposed to the linear. That leads me to my next question then about where we can sit these exams. Do you have any indication of how many exam centres have picked up on this as an option?
So yes, at the moment, and I've been directly speaking to its tutors and exams, which is in the world of UK home education quite well known. So they have quite a few centres across England mainly, I think. I know they have some international one as well. But speaking of the UK, it seems like at the moment they're the only ones who provide this. So the pioneers, basically. And I believe there will be more centres coming up. Basically, Pearson Edexcel at the moment says on their website that basically international GCSEs modular at the moment are not available to UK schools, which is true. I assume that hasn't been maybe not updated yet. So not to schools, but private exam centres. And at the moment is the tutors and exams who have availability for this. They work basically very closely with Pearson Edexcel, and I think they've been proactive this way and made a deal to be able to offer it, which I think that's the exciting part. Otherwise, you would need to maybe travel somewhere outside of the UK to take modular. Just, that would be a bit too pricey, right? Or maybe some nice holiday, but.
So if you have an exam centre that you like to use, for example, we use 3A, lots of people use Fairgos, it might be worth contacting them and just sort of saying, are you going to be offering this? Because we would love this. And then the exam centre knows, okay, we got a lot of demand for this.
Definitely, yes. Yeah, so you could, that's with everything. You just ask and they see the demand. So I think when people find out, oh, there is a modular IGCSE maths, it sounds really cool, we want to do it, but where to sit it? So yeah, and it's better to start inquiring ahead of the time, right, before you would like to do the GCSE maths. So anyone who's planning to do any exams in a couple of years' time, for example, just, start asking around, because I think the modular is just, you can treat it just as linear, you can do it all at once and it will be the same, but you have the extra bits. And at the moment, price-wise, which might be maybe a question that you might be asking as well, I did look, again, it's just from the tutors and exams at the moment, but the price for both modules is just, give or take, about the same as one full linear exam, if I compare it with the most similar one, which is the IGCSE, basically the Edexcel, so linear modular. So price-wise, pretty much works out the same. So really, I can't think of any drawback on the modular compared to the linear option.
Okay, and so I know that my exam centre 3A, they offer instalment payments, but in effect, this is kind of, if you were to do it a
Yeah.
year early, it's kind of like splitting the cost as well between 2 years, isn't it? Which is,
Pretty much.
or like you say, however many years you want to do it over. Okay, so you mentioned there that you can't think of any downsides. That was going to be my question to you. Can you think of any kind of drawbacks to it?
Well, I think at the moment the only drawbacks is that it's not as yet so widely available. I think that's pretty much really the only drawback, because otherwise it does everything what the linear does, but it's got many more extra bits, such as you can split it. And if you need to resit again, you can just resit that one. So you only pay for that one, technically, like one paper instead of the whole exam. So even financially, it's still better, better, because when it comes to resit again, you have to resit the whole thing. This way you technically pay only half if you want to resit just the unit. So
okay. I mean, the one possible drawback I could think of is based on the fact that I don't know very much about the exam boards. Now, the exam boards, as far as I'm concerned, are a bit like the dark side. I've never invited them onto my podcast. I wouldn't even know. I would have so much beef with them. And so I don't know really how exam boards operate, but I suppose one of my concerns might be, what if your child does module 1 and then EdXL in its wisdom just pulls the idea? Then you're left with kind of half that doesn't attribute to it. Is that likely? I mean, you probably know more about the exam boards than me.
I would expect that there would be a lot of heads up when this will be happening, if this will be happening. Even when the modular, again, going back to modular A-level, which was quite a common thing back pre-2018 or 2017. So that, again, we knew quite some time ahead that there will be a change. And
like a year ahead, for example.
I think it was more than that.
Really?
As far as I know, it was more than that, because you also need to change the teaching for it and everything. Same like then they say, first teaching 2024 and like academic year 2024-25 and first exam 25. And you know that quite a few years ahead when they were changing GCSEs from the letters to numbers, right? So you got A and now you get 9, or A star and you get 9 now, right? So it's like not letters, numbers. And few more things change around it, but again, we knew quite ahead that that's going to be happening, and students were learning already. Okay, well, the last one, you're learning for the, let's call it the later GCSE, and then you will be now learning towards, because your exams in a couple of years' time will be awarded in numbers. So yeah, that I would not expect that it would suddenly just change and you end up with just having half a GCSE. If that would ever happen, you end up with just half a modular GCSE or IGCSE, I would say the thing is it's still worth it. You have the knowledge. So then, okay, you would have to sit the whole thing, but you already know the half of it anyway. So I always try to look at it from the positive side. So if that would ever happen, it's not like you suddenly have to erase the knowledge and learn completely new, right? So it would be quite annoying, yes. But I think that's probably quite a small chance that would happen kind of that suddenly.
I think one thing that is a kind of ironically reassuring for home educators, considering we're out of the school system, is when schools adopt these things, because it gives a certain concrete stability to them. Is there any indication that schools are going to adopt these modular IGCSEs, or that GCSEs rather than IGCSEs will become modular?
That is a good question, because at the moment, this is not even available for schools in the UK, as IGCSE actually says. I mean, you can sit, and I have been helping students who were in schools. Usually it's private schools, and then they, for example, go for IGCSE instead of GCSE. So yes, you can sit IGCSE in schools in the UK. It's not completely uncommon, but mostly it's GCSEs. And while at the moment, the modular IGCSEs are not yet available for schools in the UK, I would still see maybe some time before GCSE might become modular and being widely available at schools. But because it gives you the same qualification and same everything, just in, I would say, more convenient way, again, I would still, if I'll be doing maths myself and sitting an exam, I'll be like, okay, I'll be the pioneer, I'll just do it first. Because again, I myself And I was really trying to think about it a lot since I ever many, many months ago found out about this and was so excited, and I couldn't think of any drawbacks really. So coming back to that's my mantra for today, no drawbacks. I hope that's true, that I'm not really overseeing something completely obvious. But yeah, I really can't think of anything that would be a trouble at all.
Okay. My very last question to you is about resources. You mentioned that the content looks pretty much like it maps straight across to the IGCSE, the linear, normal, in inverted commas, IGCSE maths. Would you recommend you just use exactly the same resources then? Is it worth downloading the specifications for the new modular one and just cross-checking them? Or is it so similar that you can just use online courses that relate to the linear one?
I would say yes. I will be definitely, because I just recently found out there is even a sample assessment now. So I'll be looking through the sample papers. So it's not actual real past papers, but what would have been if there would be real exam papers. So we call them sample papers, but it's pretty much the same as a past paper. It just wasn't a real paper. So they have those there as well, and definitely the specification. And while I'm at the moment still finishing my own course on GCSEs and IGCSE, specifically the Edexcel one, I kind of like my head is full of these specification at the moment. It's literally, you can wake me up midnight and I'll just, yes, this, then this is there, this is not there. So I'll just now at the moment when there's the specification for that as well, I'll just add it, I'll just squish it there in my brain. I'll just add it to, I'll be having several lists to compare. And I will be definitely making some sort of overview and everything. We'll be including that in my course as well, but also for just people to see it on my blog and just can really see what's there, what is not there. So that will be all added just to double check. And then even if they say, okay, I'll just be learning from my other GCSE's books, or maybe they have some help somewhere going to other like courses or having tutors or someone, they would then just know, oh yeah, we can be doing same like for the IGCSE at Excel, but say maybe they go to my blog and say, we have this list from Veronica and there's just maybe this little tiny thing or something there, so let's just make sure we cover that. So if there'll be any differences, I will be definitely making a list, making it really clear and straightforward, because it's very interests me myself and I would like to just show it for others, whoever will be interested, and just use it for their own learning basically.
This is just an excuse for your maths brain to make a spreadsheet, isn't it?
Yeah.
So let me just recap. Anyone whose child is studying IGCSE Edexcel maths, and they thought their child would sit both the exams, say in 2 years' time, they could now, this summer coming, summer 2025, their child could sit paper 1. Mm-hmm. And then, or they could sit paper 1 in November, or they could sit both papers 1 and 2 summer 2026, or they could sit paper 1 summer 25 and paper 2 November 26. So all of these options are open for anyone who is currently studying Edexcel IGCSE maths.
Yeah,
the options are there.
That's correct, exactly. Or if there's someone who's already studying and be thinking, oh, maybe we could try this modular one. So, as I said, just to double check the syllabus, making sure there's everything. If they were ready to sit the whole linear option, already say in summer 25, they could just go for both units, for both modules. And because if they were ready to sit the full exam anyway, and if something doesn't kind of work out the way they wanted, then they can, for example, right in November, just resit that one unit, that one module. So every option what you said, including sitting it all at once, if you kind of already be heading towards, oh, I'm gonna sit all of it, I've been say learning only 2-3 years anyway, so yes, absolutely.
You see, it's wonderful that as an idea. It's so flexible, because when my son sat his Cambridge IGCSE, the first paper really great, the second paper the exam centre was a long way away. We stayed at an Airbnb. We decided to have like a kind of vegan curry the night before. That was a disaster. And so then he had stomachache during his morning exam. The clock stopped working, so they had to replace batteries in the clock. He had to go to the toilet 2 times, and he got a really low mark, predominantly on that second paper. Now, under this system, in the November, he could just have resat paper 2, and wow, and now that's really nice. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that it's like in tech world, a single point of failure, that everything sort of hinges on one summer sitting. And also, I mean, a lot of children, and this sounds really, really minimal, but it isn't. A lot of children have really bad hay fever at that time of year. And particularly, hay fever comes on when you're sort of 14, 15. And then you're forced to sit there in the exam centre and you're sneezing and you're wheezing. Whereas obviously the November sitting, so if something did affect you, or if you missed the exam, or if you were just tired or in a bad mood, or you're on your period or whatever it was, you could then sit one of the papers again the next November. I like that flexibility. All right, well, thank you so much, Veronica. It's been lovely to have you on to talk us through that. You mentioned that you're going to be updating your blog, so would you like to let our listeners know where they can find your blog and where they can find you?
Yes. So the blog is at the moment still hosting on my old website, but I have a nice domain to remember. So I always share the domain, which I will also build the website and blog properly on it. But to find my blog, the easiest way is to go to homeeducatemaths.com.
Very nice URL. I like the fact that we're in there,
Yeah.
Home Educate is in there. I like that.
Exactly, because that's what it is. It's on my old tutoring website, so it's just like a blog within the tutoring website. And when I have time and I create properly the website and put the blog on it separately, they will be all on the homeeducatemaths.com.
Fabulous. Well, I'm sure our listeners will be having a check of your blog. And if anyone listening to this has any questions, Veronica is on our Facebook group, Home Education Matters, and follows our page, Home Education Matters. And so you can always ask questions, or if you want to put a comment wherever you're listening to this. People listen to this podcast on all sorts of weird and wonderful streaming services and all around the world. So if you have a comment for Veronica, do just put it under the podcast, and I will make sure that she gets it and I find the answer and I answer for her. So thank you so much, Veronica, for coming on again and guiding us through a new pioneering style of maths exam. I love it. And lovely to chat again to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Eleanor.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's Home Education Matters podcast. See you at the next one. Have a lovely day.